Hey guys, as promised, I said I would make a tutorial for the sort of refined figurative forms that we did on the first day of learning the figure. So I'm just going to do a walkthrough of this for you guys if you need it. We're going to start off with like this one where we're thinking more of cylinders. We're going to block out the body with squares as well to start with, but we're going to start with cylinders, and then I'm also going to show you guys this one where we just kind of refine those forms a little bit further. So we're going to start with the cylinders. What you should kind of think about first with this is just a rough estimate of where things should go as far as proportions. So what I suggested is making each, head, if you're thinking of the 8-head figure, each head's like an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make note of where those are going to go. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads. Okay, so this one would be one head, right? And that would be one of the forms. So one of the forms would be like a sphere or a circle, right? Because we're doing 2D on it's on a 2D surface, so it'd be definitely a circle, but we're trying to make it look 3D, so we're also a sphere. And then we also have cylinders, but what we want to do first is block out where these shapes are going to go. So if we're thinking about the 8-head figure, and I said don't worry about this right now. We're going to talk about proportion later, which is what we've been talking about currently, but I'm just going to help you block this out. So we're going to block out the rib cage, and if you remember, the neck goes down to like the collarbones and everything, about half of the head. So there's a head, there's a head, there's half of a head. So it's going to be like this, and then it goes down to about right here to this 1, 2, third head, right? The bottom of the third head. And then I'm just going to draw a square for that just to start with. Okay, so these are just like the more simplified ones. And then we're going to leave room for the, for like the abdomen, and because there's really not much like bone structure there. So we're going to leave like a space, and then we're going to draw just a little bit above here, because this would be like the pubic bone right here. So your hips go a little bit above that. So I'm going to draw a little square, a little bit above that, a little bit below that. Square there. So this would be rib cage, pelvis, head. Sorry about the bell. We'll wait for that. Okay, and then for the legs, they kind of show up about halfway into that square, and then this would be the thigh. This one right here, let's see, pubic bone, half shin. Wait, do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I'm missing a head. That's what I thought. So I'm missing a head there. So it's going to go to 2 heads is going to be where like the bottom of the knee is. So I'm going to leave a space for that joint because we're not thinking about joints at this point. So I'm just going to draw a square there and try to make it symmetrical here, leaving space for the joint. Leaving space for the knee joint right here. I'm going to just draw another one, and this is going to go almost all the way down to the bottom. I made it go all the way down. I didn't mean to. But you also want to take into account like the foot. So I'm going to draw like a little square for that, because we're simplifying these forms, and we will refine this in the second one. So like these are like the simplified form, very simplified forms. And then we also have arms. So I'm going to draw that. This would be like a joint, so we're skipping that. And then we've got like the upper arm, which goes to about bottom of the rib cage, and then we've got a joint, and then we've got the lower arm, which ends about right there. So we're going to do that on both sides too. And now all that's left is refining these shapes. We're changing them from blocks to rounder forms because we are not blocky. Our figures are rounder, so we want to round these out. So we're thinking about how the rib cage tilts a little bit backwards and the pelvis tilts a little bit forwards. So with that in mind, we're going to draw like a cylinder here. So we've got cylinders that you want to think about as well. So this whole thing tapers into the rib cage. So the rib cage is a little bit broader up here because of joints and other bones. So I usually draw like a tapered version. And then I'm showing the bottom of this cylinder just to kind of give the idea that this is tilted backwards. And then right here, it's going to be tilted forward, so you're going to be able to see the top of that cylinder. And just kind of make note, depending on what you're drawing, male or female, the pelvis is going to be either larger or smaller depending on male or female. So if you're drawing male, it's going to be smaller. It's going to be drawing female, it's going to be a little bit larger. So it looks like I've kind of made the start of a male here. So that would be a cylinder, and it's a little bit tapered as well. And then we've got the bottom of it. So it's tilted backward, tilted forward there. And then for the legs, we're going to make these, the tops of these, just round. We're not going to be able to see the top. And then we're going to taper these in, the thighs taper in like so. And then we're going to draw another round form there. We're skipping the knee joint. And then we're going to be able to see the tops of these ones, because you're thinking about these as cylinders, right? And then they're going to taper into the ankle. And then the feet, technically you'd have, like, this would be the toes here. And then they taper backward like this. So that would be like your foot, right? Bigger, smaller, depending on the person, of course. And then for the arms, you see the tops of those, because you want to still think about it in terms of cylinders. They taper a little bit, not as much as the legs do. Bottom curve right here, skipping the elbow joint, drawing the tops of this, just to remember that it's cylinders that you should be keeping in mind as you draw the figure. The forearm tapers in quite a lot, goes into the wrist, which is very small, and then we've got that small curve there. And what's left at this point, we're not worrying about the joints right now. We'll talk about that in anatomy, but what's left is you need to shade these according to a light source. So here's my light source. I'm shading this, and that's how you should also think about value when you are drawing the human figure and adding shading. Okay, so what's next after you've done this, you're going to grab another paper, or maybe flip it to the other side if you can see through it. We're going to refine these shapes like this. So I'm going to show you that as well. So I'm going to map out the body again just so that it is proportional. So top of the head, bottom. I don't know how I missed that head before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 this time. Okay. So we've got 9 lines, or little tick marks. 9, just to show that. Okay. So for the head, this, on the first one we did, it's a little bit more round. We're going to kind of refine that a little bit. So it's not going to be so much a circle or a sphere as it's going to be like an egg shape. Right? And it goes in near the chin and it goes out near the cranium right there. And then we need to figure out where the neck stops, so that's about halfway, half a head down, give or take. And so this is going to be helpful for you to just block out the refined shape. So we want to figure out where those elbows, or sorry, those shoulders are going to end up. You want that to be somewhat symmetrical, and you're going to bring that down to here, just like we did before, except this time you're going to add the neck. So the neck, you want to make sure it's not too skinny or too thick. It's going to be in the middle there. Goldilocks idea, just right, about right there. And then that curves about right there where the collarbones would end up, and you guys are going to learn all about this in anatomy, but when we talk about the anatomy of the figure. But then we've got these muscles that show up about right here, and your rib cage is visible about right there too. So what I do when I draw this part is I actually turn this square into a circle, like this. So I'm refining these blocked out shapes into more of what they really are. So we've got part of the neck in here, it's going into here, neck here, and then we kind of disjointed like the arms. So we're going to draw those cylinders. Cylinder right here, cylinder, or sorry, ellipse, I don't know why I said cylinder. It's like a circle shape. And then this is going to taper in to the bottom of that square. So it tapers, just like we showed with this, it tapers in. And this is kind of where the smallest part of your waist goes, is about right by the rib cage. Still going to leave another space for, you know, where the abdomen is, but we're going to think about more of the like pelvis. I mean, technically this would be like the pubic bone, but for the pelvis we want to show that there's kind of like a joint here, and your spine is actually just one long big joint. So I'm gonna draw this, and I drew on the last one, I drew more of a male, so I'm going to continue with that. But this is where the pubic bone would be, and then you've got other parts of the pelvis that go below that. We've got like hips up here, and we've got another really big bone right here we're going to talk about in the anatomy portion of this. But what I do is I draw like this bowl shape. This is more like you think about like a ceramic bowl. And then you've got it about right here where the pubic bone is. This is where the legs are going to sort of end up. Right there. So this pelvis, we've kind of refined this form. Looks like I made it a little less than symmetrical right there. We've refined this form so it fits more actually what the figurative forms look like. I got that. Then for the legs, we're just going to connect those thighs, and they're going to go again down to where the knee is, a little bit above it. This is bottom of knee. So it's going to be about right here and here. And what I do for that is I just start with some ovals just to block it out, and then I can refine it. And we've got part of the thigh that goes out, and then it tapers in to where the knees are. So you're going to do that on both sides. Like that. And then it's going to stop about right here where we set our pubic bone. And this is a specific muscle we'll talk about. It tapers in into like the quads and everything. So these are going to be a little bit more refined cylinders, right? Then we are just kind of avoiding the knee right now. We're not too worried about the anatomy of everything as much right now. And then it goes down into the shin, which I'm going to actually move that a little bit closer to the center. And then I'm just going to draw a line here just so that I know where to connect things here. And then I'm going to draw another little oval to show the bottom part of the leg. Right there. And then I'm just going to refine that shape, that cylinder looking shape. We've got like a calf muscle here, and then it tapers into the ankle. You can kind of see that calf muscle here as well. So both sides, trying to make it as symmetrical as we can. That's honestly one of the biggest challenges for artists, is making things symmetrical, making eyes look the same, all sorts of things like that. And then for the feet themselves, I had you guys just kind of think about a triangle. Like a right triangle. And we'll not worry about that, because hands and feet I'm going to have you guys do on like a separate day. And then for the arms, we had those. I had you kind of make it so that if you think about like a doll, you pulled the arm off of the doll. We're just kind of stopping, like we would draw them close to the body right here, but then that would block the view of what we've got going on right here. So I need to fix that. It's not symmetrical. So that's why we kind of just disjointed them. Okay, and for the arms, you've got your shoulder here, but what I'm going to actually have you guys do first is draw another little oval to, just like we did here, right, to about where the bottom of that rib cage is. That's going to just kind of help you map it out. And then we can refine it just like we did the legs. So we've got the shoulder here. It goes into some other muscles. Armpit right here. Bicep, and then it goes into the elbow, which we're not worried about right now. So this would be the bottom, right? We want to do that on both sides. Try to make it as symmetrical as you can. But again, really you just want practice with drawing these types of forms more than anything. So if it's not super symmetrical, don't fret. Which mine isn't. It's okay. I'm not going to freak out about it. And then we've got the lower part of the arm. We're just avoiding the joints again. So it would be the elbow. And then we've got this right here. And then that goes to about mid-thigh. It's like including where the hand kind of ends up. So I'm going to taper this in. This would be like the outside of the arm. And then for the hand, I just have you guys do another sort of little triangle like that. And that's really all we did for those refined forms. So we have like simple forms, and then we have refined forms. And that's what your figurative sort of form project, what I'm looking for this one is just that you're following along, doing your best, thinking about the space that you're using, and good line work. Okay, so I'm looking for these two things. This should be shaded, and then you've practiced refining these forms to more what they are truly in the body. And that is figurative forms. So you should kind of maybe just label it figurative forms and then refine figurative forms. Okay, all right, that's it. Hopefully that helps you guys. Pause where you need to. I know I kind of rushed through this. I just wanted to make sure that I got this out to you guys. So thanks, bye.